Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the CSC Challenger Series. I am Nick Dichiria, joined by my friend Sean Green here for a special bonus episode of your CSC Challenger Series, of course. I like how I said it twice. Sean, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, buddy. Listen, it's tough to do intros. Will does it fantastically. It just happens, right? I write a script. That's the only way I'm able to do it without like blah, 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 blah. So you did great. You did great on this.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, what you're looking at tonight, of course, there is no match going on in Division 1. We have the Division 2 finals on Wednesday, but nothing going on here. Unfortunately, Jules had to forfeit the first dip of his finals against Danny Baggish. And let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit, Sean.
Yeah, so I guess our first topic is why is there no match tonight and all that good stuff. So, listen, Jules has obligations to the PDC. He's playing the Players Championship event today. Well, he played it for a little bit, not as long as he probably wanted to. So tomorrow he's going to play for a lot longer. And all of our other North Americans are going to, I guess, decide they want to play darts tomorrow. And that'll be great. So he has that. He has Euro qualifiers that happen. And listen, that's how he makes his livelihood on the PDC tour right now. He doesn't get to compete in those big events and all that. And same thing with if it was any other PDC pro. And so he's overseas this week is the gist of it. Listen, based on the rules that we have in place and based on past precedent with the soldier situation, and there was just zero way that we could have done this without Jules having to forfeit the first one. It's the absolute right decision. I don't care what anyone else says about it. Carly and PPD made the right decision there. Jules respects it. He might not like the fact that he's going into it now with one loss, but you gotta kind of respect the fact that the rules are there, and maybe there'll be new changes for next year. You don't know.
Exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have consistency across the board. We want to make it as fair as possible, but also the CSC uniquely as a challenge of getting as many high-level elite talents in as possible. So trying to work around all these different schedules, I mean, it gets messy, right? That's just kind of, and Jules, Leonard, all these guys know that when they're playing, especially in D1. D2, you see more flexibility, more the semi-pro level, and you don't have as many scheduling conflicts. But going forward, I mean, the PPD really does want to try to make changes that lets players play, but only in a way that's fair to the competition as well.
Right. And that's really the gist of it, right? At the end of the day, you can look at the soldier situation as a completely different situation than this. But we can't with the rules. And that's really the main gist of it. Yeah, the soldier situation, if we had to wait there with Mike Maloney, it held up the bracket of someone who was going to play that night. And it just ended up being a situation where it affected the entire rest of the competition. In this case, if we're being honest, Jules, if we would have just started the first match on the 13th, the only thing it affects is our schedules. If it goes to a double dip, and Danny's and Jules. Like, that's basically it. And that being said, though, because of the precedent that was already set, there's no way to muddy up. There's no way to muddy up that line. You just can't.
It's also forfeiting is the last resort. It's not the first conclusion or decision that came to by anybody.
No, not at all.
The point of the CSC was let's put out a product where you guys can watch it and watch it with high quality stream and low quality commentary.
1000%.
That was entirely our philosophy there.
Like, nice. Yes.
Sick.
We're definitely doing the second part.
Now, let's talk about what we're actually doing here, right, Sean? There's no match going on, so
God only knows what we're doing here, Nick. Listen,
we're faking it.
The two people that, we just didn't get any attention this weekend, and I haven't had attention since last Wednesday. I really haven't had a lot of attention since my mustache last Monday, if we're being fair. So I thought that just having my face on screen for 30 or 40 minutes would just give me the itch scratched, and we can move on. And then, of course, we know you dye your hair different colors just for extra attention. So
I crave it.
Like, we're both right there. And then Will hates the attention. So he's doing his thing, and he's just on Nick's computer screen tonight going,
yeah, that's him holding. He asked for a chive cream cheese for his bagel, and we'll never let that go.
One for the archive.
So basically, we're going to do a little podcast style for you guys tonight. Well, mainly, we're going to focus coming up next year is our breakdown of Danny Baggish's strategy against Mike Maloney in the third place match here. And I'm excited for that. But going on after that, we'll have a couple other topics for you guys talking about D1 and D2, and just our philosophy behind commentary. And then at the end here, we're going to be doing a full-on Q&A. So if you say, why are you guys ignoring us more than normal? Finn, we see you, okay? Don't worry, Father.
Yes, we do. Hey, man.
We know you're there. But
old school student. He's in high school now. I haven't seen him in a couple years, and he still comes into our chat. And he hypes it up the whole way through with capital letters the whole way. My goodness,
we love it. So we'll be having a little chat Q&A section here at the very end where we'll answer your guys' questions. So if there's anything you guys have ever wanted to ask, we'll have a whole little section here. But Sean, I think it's about time. You want to go ahead and
listen. Let's get into this. I do have some things to look at or to talk about with you guys before we get into this really deep dive cricket strategy that is very nerdy. It's very technical in the way that we're speaking. We're speaking in math terms. And let's talk about why, first and foremost. First of all, back at TOC last year with Danny on commentary, he just kind of opened up our eyes to this high ground versus low ground strategy. Now, let's talk about what high ground versus low ground is. In cricket, you go from the 20s down to the 15s and then the bullseyes. If you have the high ground, that means that you have the larger number to point on. And it's available for you to point on. It's closed. You just have that number available for you to point on. If you have the low ground, that means that the larger number to point on is available to your opponent. You still have a lower number to point on, but your opponent has that higher number. So your opponent has 20s and you have 18s. If you have high ground, you have the 19s and your opponent has the 17s, right? So that's the difference here. It's not multiple wedges. We don't get into that aspect of it. It's just one close to one close, who has the higher ground versus the lower ground there in that situation. Does that work, Nick? Is that a good idea?
I mean, that's basically.
Did I say that correctly?
That's a good way to break it down. When you look at this, the way we're reviewing the strategy is also against another high level player. So this is the strategy that works for Danny playing at a 5+ average, going against other 5+ shooters. And what your takeaway should be is this is how high level players approach darts and how you can translate it into your level of play, regardless of what level you actually are in.
Listen, I'm a 3-5 shooter on a great day and a 2-5 shooter on every day. So I still would incorporate the strategy as much as I possibly could. For me, though, there's going to be one difference that I'll make, and I'll kind of make that distinction between kind of that higher level player versus that lower level player. But the reason why, again, of why we're doing this, I got the high ground and low ground out of the way. Danny Baggish versus Mike Maloney last week. I just want to go through some stats, and these stats show directly on the page why this high ground strategy works. And it works extremely well, and it made it almost impossible for Mike Maloney to win the match last Monday without shooting lights out. Danny Baggish averaged a 5.72 last week. Mike Maloney averaged a 5.78. So Mike Maloney outshot Danny Baggish. In marks, overall marks for the entire match, Danny Baggish had 696 marks, which, by the way, that's just a stupid number that is not made up. They actually
insane statistic for the record.
It's a real number. To put that in perspective, let me see if I have that here. No, but. So 696. Mike Maloney had 699 marks. He had 3 more marks than Danny Baggish. Now, a mark is any one hit on a number that is open to point on. So 120 would be 1 mark. 119 is 1 mark, right? And that goes for any numbers that you're pointing on or trying to close. However, the big part of this is the difference in point total between the two players. Danny had 176 more points than Mike Maloney, with less marks, with a lower average. And all of that is just because he had the higher ground or took advantage of getting rid of his opponent's higher ground as much as he possibly could. It's a strategy to where you can get outshot and still win. And that's awesome. I mean, that's at the highest level of darts with cricket, especially. Like, that's what you have to do. Right? It's like it's the equivalent of learning the math in 501 when you're at 303 or 305 or 306. Getting that extra dart at the finish is what's important there. And the fact that I think Danny's kind of cracked that code here in cricket. I'm excited to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. So let's go ahead and actually take a peek here. We picked out a couple clips for you guys on some moments of what should be pretty good representations of Danny's approach to cricket here. This first one here is going to be early on in a leg between these players here, where Danny is approaching with less points, but does have the 19s versus the 20s.
Yeah, so this is early on in this leg. Mike just hit one mark on the 20s. And this is where Danny is doing something that most dart players see as a no-no in the game. You never close your opponent's number when you're behind in points. That's ridiculous. That just allows Mike Maloney to go trip 19, trip 18, trip 18, and now he has the control. And that's absolutely correct. But Danny knows the math here. If he continues to stay on the 19s and just continues to stay on the 19s, Mike Maloney's going to stay on the 20s. That's a 3-point difference on a triple each time and a 1-point difference on the singles each time. Based on the math there, 9 marks beat 9 marks. And they both expect to hit them. Mike's 20s now beat Danny's 19s. And it's pointless for him to try and point that way. He will lose the leg doing that. So he will take that extra disadvantage, we'll say, to close the number. And he did so with a double on the 20s. That's how much he wanted to make sure they get that closed. This is just a situation where he has the lower ground and he's forcing that lower ground as going second. And he's trying just to get back control. In order to do that, you got to get rid of your opponent's 20s as early as possible. Your opponents love to shoot that number, right, Nick? It's what you practice.
Exactly. And think about it like this here. Taking away the high ground point of view, look at the point difference there. 23 points. He's staying within a bull. And that's how you know that's the green light for the shot for him 9 times out of 10. If that will guarantee the green light if he is within 25 points going against a higher number. And the logic is you said it right. The worst case scenario now for Danny is that Maloney goes trip 18, trip 18, trip 19. Because if he goes trip 18, single 18, he will not regain the point lead. And if it goes 7 marks between the two of them the rest of the way, it'll be a 4-3 on the Bulls at the very end. That's how the math will play out long term in this game of cricket.
100%. And it automatically switches up the situation. Now Danny is in the high ground. Even though Mike doesn't have any marks or anything, Mike has to go 6 18s before he will believe he can look at the 19s for normal strategy. Now, if Danny was in this reverse situation, he would probably go trip 18, trip 19, trip 18, or trip 19 first start and get rid again of his potential opponent's higher ground with the 19s. And I think that's just a little bit of a difference. The average player will shoot the 18s here on the first 2 darts. If you're Mike Maloney, and try and hit 2 triples before you even look at the 19s. And that's just mathematically not the right shot.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see because they call him the gambler for a reason. Part of the reason why his strategy works is he knows the risk reward of taking these shots here. When we talk about strategies for like 2-5 players playing against other 2-5 players, where's your miss most efficient? Whereas if you miss while pointing, you can still get a single instead of a trip, and that's more efficient. And closing first strategies like Danny Baggish, it only works if you have the confidence to be able to hit it, and you know statistically the odds are on your side, which is why it works so well for players that average in that 5+ range that we've talked about.
Well, and let's put this situation to use for my typical 3.0 or 2.5 level of play and just talk this through. It's still the right shot for this because here's what's going to happen. Your opponent is around the same average as you. If you're a 2.5 or a 3.0 or the handicap works out the same, right? So your opponent might go 19s right away. It might take them the 3 darts to hit and close the 19s. They might not close the 19s shooting at them. They might go for the 18s, maybe just close the 18s, and now you have the higher ground on the 19s with your opponent having the 18s, and you can kind of be aggressive there. Or your opponent somehow puts off a great shot, hits a trip 19, hits a trip 18, but you're still in a situation where you're only down 23 points and can point on the 17s, maybe get the point lead back before you close the 18s. It's one of those situations where this still works if you're a 2.5. You're thinking more about misses instead of the hits.
Exactly. And so now this is in context of this specific shot here with the 19s and 20s. It's early on the leg. That's a pretty common scenario. Let's actually kind of look at a different scenario here where Danny's trying to force the advantage away from Mike Maloney by taking advantage of his own high ground here in this one. So let's go ahead and play it out here and you guys can get a look and hear Sean's thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is a situation where Danny has the 17s, Maloney has the 16s, and typically that first start, now you can look at the 16s, right? No, not if you're Danny. You're going to stay there on that higher ground because you know that you're getting an average of 3 points on the 17s for every triple and 1 point for every single on the 17s. And if you look here at Mike Maloney, he's going to go 16s, and he has to hit at least 6 of them to take a shot, typically at the 17s. In this situation, though, he also does the same strategy, gets rid of those 17s, but now he's behind in points by a little bit more than a bullseye, exactly kind of where Danny wants him. And Danny can be aggressive here on his closes. He might, he closes the 15s here just to open up that wedge, but then he's going to get rid of the 16s. And that's because getting rid of that high ground again. A situation where his opponent's shooting a 6-5 there. And that little moment there where just playing the high ground versus low ground perfectly changed everything about this leg.
Exactly right, Sean. And if you look at that there, Danny goes on to hit the 3 bulls, but there's a specific moment in this shot here that we're actually going to take a look at here. And it's going to be the fact that Mike Maloney and what he actually hit on this shot right here. You see he hits the 7 mark, right? If he trips that last dart on the 16, Danny still gambled an opportunity for him to respond with the 7 mark to a 7, or 8 mark in this case to a 7 mark. He's controlling the throw there. So yeah, if Mike Maloney trips this last dart at the 16, he does regain the points. But what it gives is Danny a shot to go into the bulls with advantage. If he goes trip 15, single 15, then over to the 16s here. So regardless of if Mike's last dart hit here or not, Danny put himself in a position with those 17s to never have a worry about having a shot to have advantage in the bullseyes. And it is tantamount to winning almost when you have an advantage going to the bulls. You have the point lead going to the bulls. You should win the leg. Unless you make an error, your opponent usually can't win the leg.
Well, and let's take a second here, Nick, and just back up a bit, because I think we're being a little bit too free with the term bulls and what that means math wise. And I just want to explain that to the people that are listening along that maybe have no idea what the heck we're talking about. So a typical cricket strategy, when you get down to this nitty gritty point, when you're looking at the point situation versus do you close the number, do you add more points? You typically base that off of bulls. A single bull is worth 25 points. And so that's what you're kind of looking at there. So you're basing it off the math of 25. So if you have a 51 point advantage on your opponent and you have 16s open and you need 3 bulls to win the match, it makes 0 sense to just shoot 116 because that only it doesn't add anything to the race total. It's still just it's 17 points there in that middle grouping. You have a 68 point lead instead of a 75 point lead. And it doesn't make sense to honestly start on the 16s. You might as well start bulls. Even if you hit one of the first 2, you might as well stay on the bullseyes there. You need at least a double or triple 16 to actually add a bullseye to it and make it worthwhile. And again, that's what we think about math wise. When you get down to the end of it, is you got to think in 25s.
And that's extremely well said. I'm glad you clarified that for a lot of our audience here, because it's also just why the math of 25s.
Again, guys, nerdy.
We're a huge nerd fest over here. But also what makes it interesting, too, is that math of 25 is what lets Danny control the throw of Mike in the scenario. And that's your entire goal in cricket. You look at one, it's a sprint. It's pretty straightforward there with the memorization of routes and stuff like that. There's still a lot of skill, but just long story short, that's a sprint. You look at cricket, if you're playing it right, Danny here is playing chess. He is constantly aware of that, and not just thinking on a turn-by-turn basis, but thinking, from turn 2 and on, what can I do from here after my opening? How can I respond, and how can I control where Mike's going to go?
Exactly. And in this situation that he's in right here, he also knows that Mike is down 36 points in this situation. Actually, he just gained, 48 points off of that. So no, that's the right math. So he's down 36 points. So Danny also knows that he can hit 2 15s or 4 15s, get an extra bullseye out of doing so, which is why he can. That's why he started on the 15s there. I'm going to guess math wise. You go trip 15, then you stay on the 15s, even though that 16 shot is the higher ground. You add an extra bull by just going on that 15 on dart too.
Yeah, the math is too that he's going to shoot that 16 on that turn, and so it doesn't matter if you do it on the first dart or the third dart. So instead he's going to try to get himself in a better position by going to that 15 direction as well. So yeah, I believe we only have one more clip here for Danny. Do you want to go ahead and jump into that, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, my wife makes a good comment here. It's almost like you're truly playing against yourself, against the math instead of against your opponent, when you're thinking through this type of strategy. And it makes it so I saw earlier, Patrick Baker says, yeah, as a rule, you take it away, but you also got to go with feel. And I just don't think that you should. I know that's weird, but uh, you should be kind of emotionless with your decisions that you make in darts. If you're really at like that peak level, you're just thinking proper math, you're just thinking proper strategy, you're thinking through the meta of each move, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think Danny does that better than anyone. It's you have to be clinical. You cannot, oh man, I feel like I've been hitting 18s today, so I'm gonna take that extra shot there. As soon as you do that, you've destroyed your opportunity at the strategy. It no longer becomes that strategy. It's like counting cards in Vegas, right? No one, that's illegal, so don't do that. But that movie 21, it's the same thing. Like you have to take the emotions out of it.
Well, better Vegas reference here, if you ask me. It's like roulette in that sense of the hot and cold numbers, where the wheel does not control bias on what you're going to hit or not hit. It just shows you what has already happened.
Right.
So same thing. Whatever you were shooting on the 18s the day before does not translate into how you'll be shooting them the next day, if you especially are a high level player. But any player, the rest of that is all mental bias.
And if you're a low level player,
affects you.
Yeah, and if you're a low level player, you're not going to shoot as good on the 18s as you did last round. So, I mean, honestly, that's the consistency of that. It's so frustrating, this game, when you're in that level of play. And I mean, I'm preaching to most of the choir, I'm sure. Some of the people have no idea what I'm talking about, but yeah. Sorry. Let's go to this last clip, because we know, guys, we're getting the nerd out of this. I cannot tell you how shocked I am that 180 people are still watching. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I do appreciate all you guys watching. Like I said, there will be a Q&A at the end here, so we will have that for you guys. Last leg that we're going to look at here, and this is almost a full leg. It's just shy of it. If you look at this board state before we get into it here, Mike Maloney had just started off with a 9 mark. Danny, you can see, is shooting currently a 7 there. Maloney going second in the leg, and this is to get advantage going into the break. So very important leg at that as well. And let's just go ahead and kind of break it down as it happens.
Yeah, so he threw the 9 mark in the very first to get the 119. Now he's going to shoot a 9 mark here. That'll also include the 18s here, and he gets rid of the 20s on dart 3. So he gets rid of that high ground of Danny Baggish. And he started off perfect. This is nightmare scenario for Danny, but can you pause it right here?
I can't. Wasn't ready for it.
I want to point out that there is a 4 mark difference in this leg already. Advantage for Mike Maloney. He's averaging a 9 through 2 rounds. That's an extra 4 marks on Danny's 7. Danny's only down 8 points. Why? Because Danny started off on the 20s and had the higher ground for the majority of that pointing session. So even though Mike has 4 more marks than Danny does, the math is only an 8-point advantage for Mike Maloney. So Danny is very capable of just striking back here with a 9 mark. His goal right now is going to be, in this situation, if he's playing the high ground, low ground game, is to get the low ground first of the 17s. And then he's going to try and get rid of that 18 and immediately. And I'm pretty sure I called that in comms at that time, and Will was shocked about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Will was shocked about it for sure, but it's also not that Will, for the record, does not follow the strategy, but it's to the point where, like, I think your time in the booth with Danny as well has really just
it was immense,
understanding. Yeah, so we're looking at this here. You can see, just as you called it here, Danny just trying to first get the number closed, and then from here goes ahead, takes the shot.
Yeah, he didn't care about the bonus of getting the point lead there. If he would have hit the trip 17 on dart 1, he would have gone at the 18s on dart 2 and then gone back down to the 17s. So that was just dictated by that motion. But now Danny's in a high ground situation with Mike throwing perfect. And as much as Mike Maloney is one of the best dart players in this game, it's really hard to stay perfect the whole time. And Danny's forcing him to do that against the throw if he wants to win a leg.
And if I may, right here, so you can see Mike once again hits a 4 mark similar to that previous clip that we saw. Let's play out the reality where he does find the 7 mark here, and the reality where he stays on the 16s. It still gives Danny that edge overall. It still gives him the higher scoring power. And at the end of the day, he forced Mike to trade down. Think about like trading in the sense that he had the position on the 18s, and now he, no matter what, will have that lower position here, where Danny has to just do the same amount of scoring he already has been doing, and Mike now has to do more work from behind.
Well, and this is exactly where Danny's now back in control here. As soon as Mike didn't close the 17s, Danny's mind is made up on what he's doing from this point forward. Until Mike closes those 17s, or until he gets a major point lead, he's just going to point the 17s, because just like he would with a low ground trying to close the higher number, he's going to just stay on the higher number. There's no reason to just get the point lead and close your opponent's 16s. You get extra points for each time you just stay there. So you might as well just stay there. So at no point in time is he even thinking about this. And this is where Will's like, oh, he can close the 16s. No, he stayed on it. And that's exactly what he should do, because now it forces Mike Maloney to hit a 9 mark just to get the point lead. Well, a 7 mark would get the point lead, but
Maloney will never
that's, I mean,
the shot with the way Danny shot it there.
Yep. Again, Mike's shooting a 7.33, and we're talking about how brilliant the strategy is from Danny to keep him ahead. Again, another 7 mark there is huge, except it's just a tie ball game now. And again, Danny's in the position, point.
Yeah.
After he misses that first 16, it goes back to point.
Exactly. And the reason why he shot that 16 first, again, he's going to take one dart, whether it be the first or the third. In that situation, if he trips that first 16, he can go and try to, quote unquote, walk the dog, right? Go 16 to 17 to 15. That's just
and the brilliance
on that one.
Can you pause real quick? The brilliance is that Danny doesn't have to be perfect with that strategy, right? If you got first start of the 16, missed, all right, 7 marks all I need here. Mike has to be perfect in the position that he's in still. And as long as you're forcing your opponent to be perfect, most of the time, they're not going to be able to pull that off. And when they do, you just go, cool, congratulations, you pulled that off. Try doing it again. And Danny never had his throw broken the entire match because of just sticking with the strategy.
In a dart
Mike, sorry, I love you.
That's also fair. Hey, Mike, you did good this last weekend. You're fine. And so when you look at it, though,
made up for it.
In a good cricket match where both players are averaging in similar ballparks, it comes down to a handful of coin flips when you're playing any strategy. It doesn't matter what it is, of when you took the riskier shot or when you were taking the safer shot. Danny's just in control of his coin flips here, and he knows that some coin flips will land tails and he doesn't get what he wants, but that still requires that to be a perfect shot for the opponent, like you said there, Sean. It's truly just game management at its finest.
100%. And you'll see Mike, that second dart was, I mean, this is brutal. Yeah. And we can call this perfect strategy from Danny and stuff like that, but there are still some wires that Danny has to dodge from time to time, just like everyone does.
Exactly.
That being said, Mike's still shooting a 6.6 in the leg.
Exactly. He's still throwing incredibly well. The reason he's winning or losing here is just because of Danny's strategy, because both these players are at an insanely high level.
But did you notice what he just did there? He closes 16s, but then right back to points with the higher ground. And now his higher ground's even more of an advantage with the 15s. So if Mike doesn't, even if Mike 9 marks the 6 or the 15s here, that's nothing. Danny can just go bullseye, trip 15. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. With his opponent shooting above a 7 the majority of this leg. Never felt like he was out of control.
Exactly, and he just kind of fully rides it through from there, as he will go on to go ahead and win it out from this point in the leg here. What it does is, when you shoot the way that Danny shot his shot selection, it's not when we're saying this, so it's not like we're saying Mike Maloney has bad strategy, but instead it shows just the masterclass of Danny's strategy matching well with his confidence at the end of the day. That is truly what that is. And
if we would have focused on Mike, I think in all 3 of those legs, you would have seen a very similar strategy to what Danny just did. And it just so happens that with him holding his throw the entire time, he broke Mike's throw once, and that was the difference in the match. And again, there were just so many legs where Mike started off so brilliantly. 7 pluses throughout the majority of it, and you just look over, and Danny's maybe a whole point in average behind, but still just staying with him in the points, and it's just because of this high ground. Will it work every time? No. If you're a lower level player, I do not suggest that when you're down 23 points with 1 dart in hand, do you shoot at the close at your opponent's number. I don't suggest that at all. That's a way to lose more matches than win at a 2.5 level. It just is, because you're not even averaging hitting that dart with 1 dart. So I would not be as aggressive there, but I would definitely get rid of the higher ground as quickly as you get the point lead. If that's the situation or at least I would try to get the point lead, whatever it is, no matter how small, get rid of that higher ground. A lot of us in those lower levels think of that as like a hero shot, right?
Mhm.
Like don't throw the hero shot. It's the right move. Mathematically, it is the right move more often than not, no matter what your skill level is. And when you see it pulled off masterfully like Danny did, you can just see why. He averaged less than Mike Maloney. He had less marks than Mike Maloney throughout the entire match. To put that in perspective here, Corey Beck had 54 more marks than Tyler Hinsey on Wednesday. 54. Danny had -3 to Mike Maloney. So that's a 57 mark difference. Okay.
Mhm.
Or 19 triples. He only had 451 more points than Hinsey.
Exactly.
So it's almost half. And with that many more marks, it's only half that point difference. It's just all because Danny was able to take advantage when he went first, closing out the 20s, just getting control there.
Yeah, and that's what he does extremely well at the end of the day. And
Yep.
when we talk about the different stratagems, what I am excited for when it comes to the state of cricket in general, we can tell it's currently going through a lot of changes. How we approach the CSC commentary to now, I mean, has just completely changed because the strategy and the quality of players has has increased, and you're going to see these different metas at different levels. And the advice I would give to a 1-0 player, as far as strategy is concerned, is not the same advice I'd give to a 5-5 player. Which, if you're 5-5, why are you asking me for advice? You should probably already know this by now. So
You're better than us. Way better than
you're
us.
clearly better.
In
than
fact,
that.
stop listening to this right now. Like, there's no reason to. What we are saying is gibberish to you, and I want you to know that.
Exactly. But we also want to give a peek in behind everything too. We spend a lot of time commentating matches or watching matches or being around different dart players of different levels, especially on the high end as well. It's truly started to change how we feel about it, and we're trying to help that transgress to you guys as well.
Yep. And I mean, you look back to us 3 years ago, right? When we first started the CSC Challenger Series, I was dumb, guys. I was stupid when it came to strategy, when it came to math.
In general,
I still am, but like I hide it a lot better now. And you know, at a certain point, I've gotten a lot more confident in being able to functionally give strategy and strategic advice, kind of like more of a color person. I'm a play-by-play guy by trade, and I definitely do not have the skill level of a color analyst, like even Will or Nick. Both of them are way better shooters than I am. So for me, it's I have to have that knowledge in order to reasonably feel like I belong in order to do this. So I've definitely tried to deep dive into that, and working with Danny for a week, really, guys, it's like a masterclass in cricket strategy. It really is. He's one of the best in the world at cricket strategy. And we literally just gave you the insight on what it is and how to play it. It's not how to beat it, because we don't know how to do that. You got to hope that Danny misses sometimes. And can he keep that strategy every single time he plays? I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I'm sure at times he probably switches it up, but I don't think he does very much.
Exactly. So, moral of the story here, guys, is this is the last time we're going to use the word high ground, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
No.
For the rest of the stream, probably, maybe. But
well, for the rest of the stream, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, at the end of the day, though, that's what it's about. It's about us educating ourselves and just trying to make it also help with the watching the content in general. When you guys are watching,
Hope you learned something.
It's fun. It's fun when you're calling the different plays, watching as football or whatever else it may be. So just trying to give you guys that little extra bit of insight. But you can see the current topic here has changed to why so serious. No, that is not. Well, it is a Joker joke. It's in fact exactly a Joker Jared Leto joke.
Yes, it is.
We joke a lot, Sean. We're goofy. You and Will, and obviously have our laughs. And in the CSC in general, we kind of have that couch commentary point of view.
We do.
But a lot of people sometimes will say we don't talk about the darts enough, or vice versa. Why are you talking about the darts? Go back to talking about Dum Dum Lollipops or whatever we're debating about that week.
I have never heard a negative comment about our commentary.
Never once? Not one.
Not one time.
I've
only seen positive statements about it. No one's complained ever about anything I've ever done my entire life. I've just been perfect at everything that I've started doing. And listen, guys, we have a good time. We really do. The darts speak for themselves during the CSC. We have the greatest gig in the world to get to do this. Thanks, Nick, for this opportunity.
Thanks, PPD. Let's be real.
Well, right. But if you don't hire me and Nick, then who knows?
For sure.
We're all friends, right? The three of us are we're we're in a same boat, right? So we're in this weird like live stream darts boat, where we have each other's backs. We sit there, and what people don't see is the half an hour that we are just chilling, having a good time before the match starts, or the
Or after.
sometimes hour to hour and a half that we used to sit there and talk to each other. Now we hate each other, so that doesn't happen anymore. Um, but yeah, I mean, and we would just talk strategy. We would talk how the match went. We talk future of what we want to do, and um, we're friends. We're very close friends. I would consider Nick and Will two of my best friends in the world at this point in time. It's a partnership that I think is going to hopefully go forever. And so you hear that with our back and forth that we do. We can't sit there and do super serious commentary like that.
Yeah, and that's also the CSC in general, right? We almost take a different
Yeah.
approach to this. You do event work, I do event work. Both of us have done it. Let's refer to TFC specifically. I mean, you'll notice when the big matches are happening, when you're talking position places, we get really serious there. But when there's that dead air in between matches, or sometimes lulls in the leg, that's where we truly just try to make it as engaging as possible. And you notice when you're watching traditional sports broadcasts, right? You'll see the cutaways to the crowd, or instant replays what happened. And smaller team, smaller budget. What we try to do is fill in the rest with personality when we can.
Well, whatever personality that we're making up that day, it's just
That's also true.
What should come out of everything that we do is, first of all, the love and the passion that we have for darts. That should be first and foremost. The friendship that I guess we have with each other, I guess. Because we really are just three friends chilling on a proverbial virtual couch, watching darts and just trying to make each other laugh hysterically. And hopefully if I make Will cry at night, that's a win for me. And at the same time, the dart players have embraced us fully, because when we do decide to focus on the match for a second or two, hopefully we know what we're talking about when we get to do that. And that helps we can be a little bit more goofy, because we also know we put a lot of work into knowing all the things that we know. And all of that ahead of time. We don't just like get on there like, who's playing right now? All right, cool, let's go. And then we'll just be like, all right, so here's two guys. We put a lot of work into it, and it goes a long way. We have our roles that if we fit into perfectly. We've been doing this for 3 years together now. 6 seasons. It's going to be 7 here coming up soon. And it's crazy. It's crazy from where we got to where we are now. But if you look back at like those first streams, I'd say the only difference between us then and now, especially for me, is just how much more genuine excitement I was to see some crazy 9-mark action going on. And now I feel like I'm just so used to it that I'm not as like excited when it happens. I'm still excited to see the good darts, but definitely a little bit more desensitized than I was 3 years ago. If you guys think I'm excited now, you guys should go back there. But yeah, so I'm rambling here, but there are times to be serious in darts.
This is the time to ramble, to be fair.
Well, for sure, but I do that anyway. There's time to be serious with darts. I work for the James Darts Corporation. I'm serious 98% of the time. I still throw in some jokes and some one-liners, and I still try to make my partner in comms laugh. Same thing with working with Will USA Darts. There's more times often than not, so especially because it's whole day, where we just get slap happy by the end of that bad boy. There's nothing you can do about that. But when there's great matches going on, when there's a great match in front of you or great players in front of you, it is your job to make it not about yourself at the end of the day. And yeah, we get that with the CSC, but the CSC is more of a show. And the darts will speak for themselves anyway on the screen for you. Whereas like the all day stuff and all that, I don't know what's going on there, but
no, yeah, you're okay. Basically with the CSC, and I'll tell you a little bit about the philosophy even going back to the start of the show, was I want to mold this around what I watched with esports growing up, watching Counter-Strike, watching League of Legends, watching stuff like that. It's big personalities, it's big fun, it's a spectacle of some kind. And that's just kind of what the long term is when we're having fun and enjoying it, it makes us our best content. And when you hear us laughing and joking around the mic, it's still us taking it seriously, but playing our exaggerated version of ourselves, a character, if you will, almost. Maybe not, at least for me, as someone with social anxiety, that's kind of how I've always felt about that, is that we're kind of playing this personified version. But in fact, we also take our jobs really serious too. And we do. Try to the perfect sum up of that would be like at TOC this last year, I had bubblegum pink hair and I was walking around and we were having an issue right before our walk-ons were supposed to start for our stream. So I'm like walking and you could tell I'm serious. I'm looking all grumpy. And Jim Turntine says, just the owner of PPD turns to me and says, man, for a guy with pink hair, you're awfully serious. And so, it's that balance. And we just try to find the balance because also, let's be honest, being on camera, being on stream, we get used to it, sure. But we still are very aware that we're talking in front of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. And whatever we say will also be on the internet forever. So there's also the stress side of it too. Archives. You can see I'm referencing it here.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, just to kind of piggyback off that a little bit, we're trying to have a good time. Our job is fun. What we get to do is so much fun. The stress that's involved with it is so much fun stress at certain times, especially for me, when I work with some other company. When I do my To The Point streaming stuff, I am as stressed as you see Will running around on a daily basis with USA Darts. When you see Will laughing and like smiling, it's like nervous laughter and smiling because he's making sure nothing is about to break. That's a stress that he's under when he does that stuff. So I get to show up and just goof around. So for me, that stress doesn't exist, which is why I'm always happy-go-lucky and positive, because I know that I have to be in that situation. I'm sure the same thing, Nick, when you have to run broadcast for Bullshooter, same thing with me. I mean, we have different modes depending on our roles for what we're doing. And it's not me being disingenuous for myself. I do have social anxiety as well. A lot of people would be very shocked to find out that I'm mostly an introvert. I kind of fake my extrovertness, I guess. I'm a people person, but I'm a very like positive people person. As soon as like any negativity comes my way, I'm like, no, thank you. I'll just walk away. So I'm in that same boat. At the same time, it's just, we enjoy talking to people. We enjoy meeting people. We enjoy the community that we have, the family that we have. And, we have a responsibility with the voice that we have in the community that we have to show up for the players, do our best at any given moment for what we're trying to do, even if it's in a fun way, in a goofy way. But we're trying to put a sport forward here in North America. And at the end of the day, we know we have a little bit of pressure on us for that. And the players have that same pressure, even if they don't voice that. And it takes a really strong team of people that are passionate about this game, including all of you watching along with us, to really grow this game. And we're in the process of doing so. When we get over 2,000 people watching along with us, it's incredible. It's humbling. But it means that also the game's growing. So it's so exciting for us to see that stuff for the fact that it's growing the game.
And you can see the game growing in every aspect, even including the gap between Division 1 and Division 2 actually shrinking. You like that segue there? I was ready.
That was wonderful because my wife's going to yell at me so hard at how long this is taking.
It's okay. It's okay. She can blame you, not me. Anyways. Megan, thanks for tuning in.
Sorry, Megan.
So we'll be brief here. We do have a couple more topics and a little Q&A with you guys before we head out of here, but we'll be on for at least a couple more minutes here. So going real quick here to the gap between D1 and D2. If we look at season 1, the season that we took over, the COVID season, right? The remnants of the people that qualified pre-COVID.
Do you have this? Do you have this stuff?
I don't have the exact stat line, but I can tell you that the bottom average for D2 was right at a 4.1. I believe it was a 4.15. I know because I was a 4.07 and did not make it That's the whole reason why D2, I barely missed the qualification and ended up running the stream. If I qualified, I probably wouldn't have gotten reached out to help on the production side. That wouldn't really make any sense. Now you look at the bottom of D2, and I expect this going into this next season, if you're not at least a 4.5 or higher, you probably don't stand a chance to get in D2, assuming a similar field qualifies. I think that 4. Just says a lot. It says so much. I mean, it says so.
Stupid.
It's insane. if I may, I will say with D1, what is set is a new standard. It's set a new standard of you need to be a 5.5 or higher to win out the season. And that is
Yep.
what players at the highest level in extended formats can play nowadays. Consistently, and not just a couple leagues. We're talking consistently, 17 leagues potentially, where you'd have to do that. And that's exciting because it shows that there's a higher gear than we thought was possible with cricket averages. It shows the ceiling we haven't quite reached it yet. We're still going. But D2, you notice that there's just always new names now. Almost everyone in there's a handful that have been playing for 15 plus years, but there's also a handful that have been playing for 5 or less years now. And that's becoming more common. And it just shows that the average player is getting better, or there's more players on, which is forcing everyone to get better. Either way, it's a good problem to have, wouldn't you say?
100%. You look at the invite track for Division 2 right now. Porky's in it for Division 2, and he made top 4 of Division 1. He finished 5th, 6th in Division 1 this season. It's gross. There's so many players here that were in Division 1 that are now dropping down to Division 2. Chrissy Grimmel. The list goes on and on of players. And you go down to the bottom. Brett Hollanday, who got 3rd place this season in Division 2. He is the very bottom person qualified right now for Division 2 at a 4.51. This season's finals is taking place between a 4.64 and a 4.65. By the way, they are 0.01 difference for the finals tomorrow or on Wednesday.
Yeah,
crazy,
mind blowing. But and it just shows that those players there's just more players getting better. That's really pushing that standard. It does help with the PBD expanding to the top 1,000, which obviously lets the gateway in for people to qualify with less total games, and that does help.
That's great.
In some, but that's exactly what, especially for the CSC, it's designed to show off players. In fact, we at one point in time talked about when Brett Hollanday won. I know there was a brief discussion of what if we relegated players, like made them have to move up a division or maybe move down a division, because he shot a 5.0 in D2, and we thought that was a season average going into the final for the season he won, which was season 4.
Who?
Brett Hollanday. Was season
4?
5? 4. That was season 4. So when he ended up winning at that season, it was a 5.0 going into that final. And we thought that standard's too ridiculous to have in D2. We should maybe consider, if you won at that average level, relegate up. But we're clearly proven wrong because the standard's not risen. You can see both these guys are 4.6s in the finals. And I believe Brett Hollanday finished season 4 at around a 4.8 after that finals. And so you can see that everything's just getting better. And that's why you don't see people jump between divisions. And if anything, you see people from D1 going down more than you see D2 going up. And the players that are going up just do one season in there before moving up to the top level.
Mike Scarborough is about 20th in average in Division 1 this season. I know he's in the finals Division 2. Just stay with me here. So he's about 20th there at a 7.8 or a 4.78. Sorry, 4.78. Tyler Hinsey is the highest in Division 2 at a 4.74. So the bottom 10, 12 people in Division 1 and the top 10, 12 people in Division 2, maybe even further than that, are all on equal playing field. And that's, when you think about it, if that was how this worked, any one of those players would be possibly the champion in their own tournament. So it's definitely bleeding together. It makes it exciting for Division 2 because those averages all jam together there at the top because there's so many good ones. And then it makes it exciting for Division 1 because you have those top players and you honestly get some guys that are in a David versus Goliath type of situation that get some great storylines out of it. And I'm excited to see kind of how that continues on.
Well, let's talk about David and Goliath as we have our D1 final coming up next Monday. I know a lot of you guys probably clicked this thinking, oh, they uncanceled the match and then immediately got disappointed. So sorry to every single one of you.
We've dropped people consistently as this has gone on, which is great. That's kind of how it would work.
Yeah, that's kind of what we expected, to be fair. But let's talk about the D1 final. One match to get it all between Danny Baggis and JVD Jules Van Doggen. What are your thoughts there?
It's going to be a great match. At the end of the day, it was 9-8 in the previous one. I'm expecting it to be a similar situation. I think that Jules being forfeited in the first match might fire him up a little bit for the second one. I know Danny is got all the motivation in the world that he could possibly have, which is his own self-motivation. I know he wants nothing more than to have something that Mike Maloney has, which is a CSC Challenger Series Division I championship, and he would love to get it done as soon as he joins, because that the bragging rights there mean everything to Danny. So the money's nice too, but definitely. So I think it's gonna be a great match. I'm looking forward to next Monday being a real top shelf, high quality, 5.7 pluses for both players type of an affair.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I think Danny might squeak it out.
Hot take here. I didn't think Danny or Jules played particularly well to their own standard during that King Seat match. When I was watching, don't get me wrong, there were still great moments. They're still playing better than I ever will. Probably. Hopefully I never get that good, because I couldn't handle being good at darts for sure.
No, sorry, Mike's calling the finals a yawn fest.
Cody, don't look at my average. I might be a 3.5 and a 28 right now. Anyways, but I will say, to this standard of what we were expecting, it did not fall, and we can know that Jules right now has been struggling a lot with his grip and stuff that you've mentioned on stream, and we're gonna talk about how Danny is, while he still plays at extremely high level, this is more part-time for him now than it was in the last couple of years. You know, he considers his peak of play near 2018, and since then he's kind of been playing around that same level, but he felt like he's never really re-peaked, if you ask him, and I think between you nailed it spot on. Jules will be fired up that he has to get it done in one. I think he would otherwise potentially risk maybe getting a little bit. Not that he wouldn't take it seriously, but it forces you to tense up. It forces you to have to play your best, and he plays well under pressure. And Danny on the other end, knowing that this commitment's over, I can get the bragging rights done here, is also going to be more motivated than ever. There was moments where Danny's self-confidence has been down in this and been really up in this, and right now, after beating Maloney, you'd have to imagine it's been higher than ever.
Listen, he might say that it's down. It's Danny Baggett. He's always going to feel like the best player walking into the room, and that's what makes him as good as he is. I fully expect this to be a great match. I'm inclined to pick Jules just because I backed him this whole season from the get-go, and so why would I stop now? Danny is going to be tough. I think it honestly might come down to who starts the very first leg. These guys are this brilliant, and it might turn out to be something like that, and it might not. You never know. I'm excited for it, but we're not going to give predictions because we don't need to. We just need to move on to the expectations for Division II final.
Yeah, let's talk D2. I will say, just quick final thought on that last piece there is, I think if Jules leaves the openings he did last time, Danny will trump through. But if he doesn't, it is going to be a tall task, and it will come down to going first, like you said there. But let's talk D2 now. D2 is going on.
I like it.
Unfortunately, Tyler Hensey bid adieu in that third place position. So you got Corey Beck, Mike Scarborough for the finals here. Mike, you kind of expected to have a good chance of making the finals preseason, as he was the number one D2 average. But Corey Beck was the unknown on the radar of what he was going to do. And I think even himself is a little surprised to be here.
I would agree with that, but he's handled it so well. The last 2 weeks playing in person against his opponent. How weird is it going to be to come back to play against a person online? That's an obvious question I think you have to have. Again, the average difference is 0.01. So they both have to feel like they have an equal playing field of winning this thing. Mike Scarborough's obviously been around since season one, played in Division I all the way up until this season. So he has the expectation coming in to win Division II, and I don't think he expects anything else. And I fully expect Corey to give Mike everything he can handle, and Mike to maybe squeak out a victory at the end, so we see the shirtless wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ready for another shirtless wonder on our live stream. Let's not forget, Corey Beckett got Mike Scarborough to a last leg decider when he played him on the winner's side of the bracket. Corey, obviously, more of an old school player, getting back in it to the mix. I think it led a couple people as far as from the viewership to 9-8. It led a lot of people to almost underestimate what Corey could do, just because he hasn't been out in front of the spotlight as much as some of these other players. But let me tell you, he is probably the most consistent player in D2 we've seen on stream. As far as this season goes, he is not really having too many off lays, and he very rarely will ever dip into the threes. And when he does, he bounces back with a 5+. But Scarborough, of course, unlimited potential with what he can do. I mean, it is important to note that he's played at this high level in the CSC for a long time now, and we've basically gotten to know him pretty well ever since we first monikered him the Giant Killer before all the other nicknames he's earned himself through his different levels of clothing. So
he's another master strategist when it comes to cricket, because it's an unconventional type of strategy that makes his opponent think. That being said, he'd rather face against Tyler Hensey on Wednesday. I can tell you that much, because Corey's going to have seen that before, and Corey will have answers for a lot of that. So I think it's going to be a great performance. 9-8 was the last scoreline. I have it going similar. I just don't know. I hope we go to a double dip. How about that? I hope we play 2 matches next week.
And then that means even more darts, which is always a good thing.
Exactly.
That's basically how it's going to chime up. It's going to be who wins that last leg decider is going to be how that one wraps up here. And speaking of wrapping up, we are here at the Q&A portion of this chat here. So if you guys have any questions for us, now's your chance to ask for the next couple of minutes here. We'll answer almost any question that you guys have. And if you guys want to know anything, I know someone is asking our thoughts on Whammo and will we be there. Unfortunately, neither of us will be there. We might be virtually helping out as much as we can, but Will Stewart will be there, so you guys are lucky.
Yay.
Yay, it's Will.
Yeah, actually, I probably won't be available for much of Whammo except for maybe early in the week, like maybe Thursday night or something like that. But my wife might kill me if I actually agree to do that. So maybe not, as we have weekend 1 of the Championship Darts Corporation happening next weekend. Yeah,
and that's one of the things, right?
Liam's gonna have me do my trick. All right, you guys ready?
No.
All right. Oh yeah, I'll just do it this way, I guess, to make sure no one can see. Everyone can see that I'm not looking at anything whatsoever. So here we go. Hey Nick, do you want to get involved, or want to know how to get involved in TOC and PPD leagues like the CSC Challenger Series?
Boy, do I.
Well, players become involved in those by playing in daily remote tournaments and leagues. Ah man, hold on. You messed me up.
How did I?
You threw me for a loop here.
What?
It wasn't you. All right, here we go. I got put on the spot. Whew, I'm nervous.
Guys, I muted his microphone. He can't hear me, so he thinks that he's doing this out loud.
Did you actually mute my microphone? We're trying to get through this, Nick.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Players become eligible for those by playing in PPD leagues and daily remote tournaments, or DRTs. Leagues are starting daily. Get involved by going to dartstoc.com and checking out the map. The map will show any location with G3 boards within the PPD system. If you're not seeing anything in your area, just have your vendor contact them on the website. From there, you can sign up for leagues on the website. It doesn't take a ridiculous amount of games to be eligible either. Consistently playing 1 league a week will keep a player eligible for this event in the future. Again, go to dartstoc.com to get signed up today. And if I was muted that whole time, I am leaving immediately.
Oh, bad news for you. No, I'm just kidding. I thought about it, though. I really did think about it. There you go, guys. That's the the spiel there.
Anything else?
Yeah, right. If you guys have any other questions, let us know. Brian Henry saying another great season, guys. The finals matches are going to be fantastic. It's it's going to be phenomenal, these finals. And of course, Brian, thank you for tuning in and always giving us your love and support. Still want those boom signs, by the way. I desperately want to put one up.
Yeah,
so bad.
I mean, I have all these knickknacks and stuff like that, but I can always use some boom signs. Liam, yes.
Yes, he does. And now we did
good. That was quick Q&A. I love it.
Yeah, you guys, honestly, you guys crushed the Q&A on your guys' side. Very easy to answer. Brandon saying, when can we get the mustache back?
Which ones?
Yeah, are you talking mine
Whose?
or his? His over there, it was way better than mine. Let's be honest.
Lynette asked a great question. Where's my dartboard? It is in a different area of my house because this room that I'm in currently, my streaming room, is about a 7x7 space, maybe 7x8. So with an 8-foot line, it doesn't even, I would have to be back against the wall there and past the wall in order to have a dartboard there. Yeah. It would just be for show.
I can barely fit the one I have in here. So I can barely fit that guy in there, and it is mounted on the closet.
I agree. Brandon Neal says yes to both. Well, for me, Brandon, you would have to divorce your wife. I would have to divorce my wife, and then we would probably have to join into a union because my wife hates my mustache so much that she would divorce me if I got it back. And since it's
Uh,
your fault, you're stuck with me.
so congrats on the new union between you guys. Brandon here talking about league payouts and TOC. I will always tell anybody when they are approaching TOC, if you play to get, if you're just a league player, it might not be the right program for you. The TOC works and fundamentally on you playing these leagues to qualify for tournaments and to qualify and play in these different specialty events, the Nationals event, All-Star Triples, and the DRTs. When you play in those events, that's where you will have the chance to make money. Me as a player, before I ever worked for PPD in any official capacity, I went out to TOC in 2019 playing divisions as low as Division 4, as high as Division 1, and there is a no-cap division out there for reference, everybody. And I did not. I won $4,000. I won $3,800 playing divisions 1, 2, 3, 4, random divisions, different events, and it didn't matter that I didn't have the highest league payout because that's where that money goes. And so if you're a payout centric player, I will say like that's where you're going to have to get it. You have to be able to play in the tournaments, and if you're not, there is a detriment. But you also get access to play people across the country. I can go play a league against Brandon Neal right now and show him why I should wear the white belt because I can just go sign up and do that. It gives you that accessibility. Personally, local
You just
leagues,
play against me.
We don't have local soft tip leagues around here very much. There's one set of leagues with a smaller amount of participation. It's great for those areas that don't have that. So that if you're approaching TOC, make sure to try to include time for the tournaments because that's especially where you'll get your bang for your buck.
100%. Wouldn't say that anything else. Anything else you guys got for us before we sign off here?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much last thing. I will say, just to be a little transparent here, a lot of people have reached out to us about our opinions on different subjects, right? Whatever it may be in the darting world, either Will, Sean, or I, or sometimes all three in a group chat. Sometimes we'll get messages. What do you guys think about this? What's your take on this? A lot of times we err on the side of not always voicing our opinions because we want to try to make sure our content's accessible and try not to alienate anybody. But there's a one.
Yeah, if you want to know why we don't sound stupid on social media, it's because we have each other in a group chat that we say those stupid things to, and then we don't have to say them to everyone.
Exactly.
Because we're told they're stupid.
And we also are the type of people to give our opinions face to face to people individually. Especially if someone comes up and asks me a question, I will answer your question. I won't say no comments, right? That's lame. But
it's weird.
There's also
we always have comments.
We also do that because we feel there's an air of responsibility as people in the space, in the spotlight. We bring out content and we try to make ourselves neutral parties to a lot of these things. So that's why you kind of see us not take these hot takes all the time on everything. But it's also because we know that there's a responsibility that comes to being a streamer, to being a broadcaster, whatever you may classify the term as. That's why we try to make sure to be careful about what we say on the microphone and who we bring near microphones as well. And everything along those lines, because it's something that's important. And win. That's the thing too. Please.
It's just at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where we are put in a position of privilege, honestly, to show what dart players can do, and we have a responsibility to not take advantage of that privilege. So dart players are letting us into their personal lives. Dart players are letting us into, a lot of things that we otherwise wouldn't have any access to or understand. And we have a responsibility to protect that, I think, a little bit. And I think that we have a responsibility to players to protect players at times when we get asked all the time, guys, at tournaments. You wouldn't even understand how many times we get asked by players, and it doesn't matter who the player is, to get on the mic and to do that. And honestly, it's people that are going to have absolutely brilliant takes on everything that we do, and they're going to have much more insight than we could ever give because we haven't been in their shoes. But at the same time, if they're not in the right headspace or whatever, if they just lost, right, and they come in and they're upset, and we give them a microphone, that's irresponsible of us. That's not the player's fault. And I just want to be honest and say that there are times where, as streamers, we're responsible for that, and I know that we take that responsibility extremely seriously, and just we just want to, again, just voice that out there that we just it, we have we have a goal in mind. It's to grow the game of darts, and
Yes.
we have to do that the right way, with the partnership with everyone. And there are times where um, we have more access to things than most other people, and we gotta remember to respect that.
Well, and, to kind of jump off that as well, we try so hard to build these products because we want, as you said, the game of darts to grow. We're very passionate because we came through as players.
Yep.
Me, Will, Sean, all the same origin of we liked playing darts. Now, how we started playing darts could be slightly different, but we all agreed that we liked darts and it took us to this level. So we also don't want to discourage people from going out there making content. I love seeing the rise of all these different streams, these videos. I love that I see player recaps more than ever. But those are all content where people have the control. And what we try our best to do is put ourselves in scenarios where we can put out the best stream and also put out the safest product too, because it's a live broadcast at the end of the day. When live broadcasts happen, you have to have fail safes in place for when things go wrong.
Yeah.
If you guys don't think I have one button here that turns off everything immediately in case I need to hit that exists. We're not trying to have it's like the Barstool Sports controversy of spoiling the whole finale of a show, and you can see Portnoy going like, why do we have a dump button? Why did we have a dump button?
Yeah.
We try our best to put our fail safes in, and that's the one advice we can give to anybody else is try to be cognizant of whatever you say is on the internet forever, and to try to make sure that to be safe, just make sure everyone is safe and consenting to everything that's happening along, and to put out the best quality stuff to help grow the game of darts.
Exactly. And we'll always kind of have that opinion on the matter, and without voicing any real concerns with anyone else, we appreciate everything that everyone's doing to help grow this game of darts. And as long as we're all kind of continuing along that path and having a great time doing so, then there's never going to be, we all want to work together and all want to be one big happy family. And that's the case. And we'll always welcome anyone into that. But yeah, it's just a learning experience can be had at times that we all had to learn, that, we get access to some crazy stuff sometimes and gotta be able to control the situation as best as we can when we can. And in certain situations, it's best to not have people.
Think about the inverse here. It's like, how many times has there been a fight on a live stream or in a dart hall where we've in the background made sure the camera never showed that, right? That is things that has happened, right? Or someone storms into the stream room and we immediately hit the mute button because we know whatever is about to happen can't be good. So that's the idea, is we kind of air out our own content, try to have the best approach, but that does not mean we're perfect. We have crossed lines before.
No. Yes, we have
made mistakes. We have we've done plenty wrong. We are not mightier than thou.
I make fun of Tyler Hansy's one hand on a weekly basis, but I do so with the understanding that Rick, who is much bigger than I, enjoys it immensely. And also that Tyler is really cool with it. I've had multiple conversations with Tyler. I've reached out to Tyler sometimes where I feel like I might have said a little bit too much, and he immediately just like, no, man, it's hilarious. I listen back and I enjoy it. So we also create those boundaries with players. So again, it's part of the access that we kind of get. But at the same time, are we perfect every time? Of course not. And we're always trying to improve that. And again, in the day, that's all we're trying to do. Just improve and get better. And if we're doing that, this game's going to grow and it's going to be great. And it's going to be everyone thinking we want it to be.
Yeah, well, let's end on a slightly lighter note here. Last couple things I saw rolling through the chat here, because we did get a little serious there, which is funny because we've had a whole section about why so serious. There we go. Chris
Sometimes you got to
ask a question that I know the answer to, and I'm not sure if we should say it out loud yet or not. But Chris Marks asked, what is the theme of next season for CSC? Because if you guys know, each season has had a different
that's
theme.
Nice.
And
you said you would answer anything, so
I did say I would answer anything, and this theme has already been decided. So if you guys are curious, the theme for next season, given that it will be ending in the fall of 2024, is election themed. So you think you're going to have enough
Ooh.
politics? No, don't worry. We're going to
Oh
have
God.
plenty. No politics, but
Why?
we're
I have literally tried to dodge politics online for the last 8 years. It's kept me in positions that I'm in and everything like that. And we're doing this, huh? All right.
Yeah, that's it's actually, funnily enough, I believe that was the PPD's idea. Normally, I usually come up with an idea or you get told about an idea. Actually, this season was the idea was from Jen Mounts from A to Z. But PPD said, "What's the thoughts on this?" And obviously, we're not actually making a political show, but we're going to be having some fun with it, given the whatever's going on in the later months. So
listen, Will can do a Trump impression.
Yep.
And he just wants to be able to do it.
Yep.
And so at the end of the day, we have to appease our big star, Mr. Will Stewart, and give him what he wants. So if it's more Trump, okay, his terrible Trump voice that he comes up with for everything. But Curtis and Sean, you have your favorites. I don't know what that means, but
he was saying that in reference to players and stuff like that. Like,
we have our favorites. Of course. But it's honestly, it's it's really hard to come up with names of people that I dislike in the game, or that have shown me a side of themselves that I don't respect, if that makes sense. I can't think of any of the top players off the top of my head that have ever done that to me in any capacity whatsoever. Danny's yelled at me before on stream when he could hear me when he missed, because he missed and sucked in a CDC match. But him and I are friends now, so it's fine. That's about it.
We have our biases one way or another.
Yeah. Curtis asks who sponsors you. Well, so I am not a sponsored player. I'm not a sponsored commentator. I do own a live stream company that has many sponsors, including A to Z Darts and Magicware, which is why you see me majorly in that. Magicware came up with my Boom Goes the Dynamite jersey. CSC luckily is sponsored by the same entities there, so we kind of have that cross pollination. And of course, when I work with USA Darts, that's an easy one too. So yeah, my live stream is sponsored. I am not. So if I have patches on my shirt and stuff like that, it's because they're fake. Yeah, and they think they look cool.
They look cool. We're not sponsored. At the end of the day, we work for multiple companies, and in your case, also owning a company, because we're just trying our best to make sure darts is available to you guys by going through any means necessary. It's also just us freelancing, just because that's where the North American dart scene is at as well.
Yeah.
It's the same reason you don't see Joe Buck getting a sponsorship per se directly on.
I'm sure he has. What?
Yeah, no, he can.
He has sponsorships. You stop it right now.
No, he'll take ads and whatnot. But there's a difference between an active, this is who I am, this is who I'm representing, versus when we do stuff like right now.
For sure.
PPD/USA Darts has trusted us to represent them as the brand and organization, and so therefore we're not here to also represent other brands that don't directly sponsor the shows we work on. Is typically our philosophy there.
My first question is, how much are you offering? And then my second question is, I guess our sponsors are our employers, which depending on the live stream that I'm working for, my employer changes. Sometimes I'm working for myself. So whoever is bringing me out there for the week, that's my sponsors. And I'm happy to do that.
The future of our live streams is going to be us ending every sentence by saying sponsored by Carl's Jr. at the end. And it's just going to be a reference to Idiocracy the entire time.
Wait a second. You've seen a movie that is a wonderful movie? It's a first time for everything, guys. All right. It's way past.
Yeah, we're supposed to do this way shorter, but turns out we talk a lot between the two of us.
Duh. You should have known this heading into it, but I cannot stress enough to everybody how much we appreciate the support, the love, the random love that we get on a daily basis. It's so easy for people to complain about things online and on social media, and the amount of love that we get shown by everyone who supports us is honestly amazing. And if we continue to build each other up like that, I don't think that we're ever going to have an issue. John Part has always told me that if 50% of people love you and 50% of people hate you, at least you got them all covered. I don't have them all covered yet, but I'm sure that there are a majority out there that hate Boom Goes Dynamite, or at least they used to. They might start liking it now.
I've seen that more and more, honestly.
It's crazy, right? But no, we just want to say thank you guys so much. We're put in a position here that has been just a weird circumstances to be sitting in this chair with Nick and with Will and with everyone else that I work with. I'm just a darts fan from Indiana who is trying my best to grow this game and be the best I can at what I'm tasked with doing in the community, which is obviously not playing darts. So I appreciate all the support. It means a lot for me personally. I know Nick feels the same way, and Will hates compliments, by the way, hates them. Will refuses to accept them. It is the most amazing way to make Will squirm. If you want to make Will feel the most uncomfortable I've ever seen, just go up and be like, oh my gosh, you have the best live stream and you do such a great job. He will squirm right away. You'll see his body movement will change. It's hilarious. So definitely give Will all the compliments when you see him in person at Whammo next weekend.
Please do. He actually loves people so much. He actually does, though, and we love everything that we get to do for you guys. And you guys just make us feel so lucky to be in the positions of which we are in.
1,000%.
Sean and I are just two guys that met playing darts at a blind draw, and Will was introduced to me as Jen's friend because I met her at a dart tournament years ago, and Carly knew me as some guy that took a couple big checks one year at TOC. Like, that is how this all
with
started.
Hair. Yeah,
I think it was red that year. And so all that being said is our job doesn't happen. These things don't happen without you guys giving us love and support. And it also is what motivates us. If nobody watched it, will we still be doing what we do? Probably, but just not as much. The difference is,
for sure, not as much.
You guys make this type of content possible, and hopefully going forward, more types of content possible, more times where we can really help promote and grow the game and really just have fun. I mean, we know how incredibly lucky we are to be in these seats, and that wouldn't happen without you guys. And if you guys ever wanted these seats to get changed out, don't petition for that online because we like it here.
Yeah, man, let me tell you about the hours. Okay. First of all, you got to have a full-time job during the day. And then at night, when your wife really wants to hang out with you and watch shows after your kids go to bed, you're here talking to Nick and Will for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's guys, I wouldn't change any part of this. People always ask me all the time with how much of this stuff I do, like, you've got to get sick of darts. And I really don't. And until that day happens, which I just don't see happening anytime soon, I'm going to continue to love doing this and continue to do this for you guys. All right. 2 more. Sean, are you from the region? So because I don't know what that means, I'm going to say no. But I'm from Indiana.
He's from a region.
Midwest. That's good. And then what darts do I throw? I throw the Mark McFadden, the Money McFaddens, Gen 2s for soft tip. And then for steel tip, I throw our To The Point Streaming Siege 1 barrels.
Oh, well, there you go. And I know I wasn't asked, but if you guys are curious, I do throw the 07 Akashis from Red Dragon 20-gram barrels there. I am currently trying out the Target K-Flex, and giving those a shot. I do always rotate my shaft systems. I like to try to change those up a lot. Same thing with my barrels. I just like throwing different.
Win more fusion is what I'm at right now.
Oh, there you go. Hopefully that helps you win more, because you definitely aren't winning enough.
Well, Jules gave me a set last week, and man, I'm telling you right now, I love how well they allow for groupings for steel tip. There's a lot of times where when those first 2 darts go in the trip 20, I don't really have to aim at anything but the back of those 2 flights, and it will carry it right in. I've had more 180s in the last week using those Winmore fusion flights than I have in a long time. So maybe they're just good for me, but I like them.
He's hit 1 at least.
At least 1. That one time was cool though.
It was so sick, to be fair. That's pretty fun. Yeah, we're not we're darts enjoyers. In fact, we talk about our love for darts. I am now currently playing a league with Austin Boogie Braswell now.
Nice.
Where we played 2 league matches at the same time, and then I also played in the no cap DRT. So I was on 3 boards at one time. We're addicts at the end of the day. Sean goes out to blind draws every Friday. When I do go out, I play 14,000 matches just because I like to take my lessons and lose to Ram Guevara in his shiny shoes. So
it must be nice, Nick, to have time for a league. I wish I could have a league.
I don't have time for it.
I could do a league.
I've rescheduled every match this season so far.
That sounds about right. Which is why I don't do leagues. I refuse to be responsible for why people hate the league. So you're obviously not in that boat yet. Maybe one day you'll reach there. But guys, thanks for tuning in with us. I can't tell you how much we are wondering why you are here. And we thank you very much for everything, and continue to see you on Wednesday. Tomorrow, To The Point Streaming's live with a great match. See you then. If not, we'll see you on Wednesday for a fantastic battle. Upcoming Whammo next weekend with Championship Darts Corporation, also weekend 1 on pdc.tv, so you can check me out there. I'm checking you out. And then you didn't say the back. You're supposed to say, I'm checking you out, but you haven't probably seen that because you haven't seen anything. And yeah, so guys, I'm leaving before I talk more.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to our 30-minute show that turned into an hour and 30-minute show. We appreciate each and every one.
Megan hates me so much right now.
Sean is divorced.
Did the Pacers win?
Brandon needs to divorce Stephanie now, and then the mustaches come back. All right, guys, we are having a good night here. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and of course, see you next time.
Dang it, the Pacers
Wednesday.
lost?
Not the Pacers. No.
The Pacers.